is up, traders? I hope you're well. Absolutely mad 2 weeks of trading. It's been a crazy 2 weeks. Everyone's been stomping the market, and we've been pretty much on point with every single trade we've entered. So it's been a really exciting period of July, and now we've just got to maintain composure and not get too excited and blow our cool for August. So, in light of everything that's happened, I haven't been able to do as many recaps. Obviously, I was with the family over the weekend. So what I've decided to do is basically break up the highlights of the last 2 weeks into two separate videos. So for today's video, really all I wanted to focus on was the GB pairs. Basically, why? Well, in the last 2 weeks, we've closed 1,823 pips on GB alone. And it's been a very exciting time to trade GB, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next week with the BOE. We've obviously got interest rates coming out. There's been a lot of speculation on in talks that they're going to be talking about negative rates. Now, obviously, they have talked quite favorably of negative rates before in the past, leading into the interest rate decision this next week. So it could be quite interesting. Could they go negative, and could this just be a massive pump and dump on GB pairs? We're going to have to wait and see until next Thursday, which I believe is when they're going to make the decision. So for now, I'm pretty happy with what we've managed to do. We've caught the trend perfectly, which has been the key. We've been riding the trend all the way through on GB. And I will highlight how we found that trend change and how we made sure we were on top of it. We haven't had any losses, which again, I'm pretty excited about. And I will also highlight our Euro GB because that is, it correlates with a couple of our GB trades. So guys, like I said, if you like the content that's coming out, if you're enjoying the videos, if you're enjoying the Telegram group, please, keep the likes coming in, keep the subscriptions on YouTube coming in. More importantly, let's share this, let's get this out. I'm really eager to get help as many people as I can. Essentially, I think we've had a fantastic start to the platform. Last month, obviously doing over 4,000 pips. It's been a very exciting time. So, let's keep the ball rolling, everyone. All right, so first trade that I just want to break down is obviously our GB AUD trade. Within this trade, we net a beautiful 366 pips on the back of this trade. So all I want to do quickly is just do a top-down analysis of each of these trades and why we decided to trade in that direction. Obviously here, looking at GB AUD, we're starting on the weekly chart. We can see that we're clearly in an ascending channel formation forming here. So we entered the trade down here. Why did we enter trade down here? Well, up here, we saw a massive false breakout of the top of the ascending channel. And usually what this leads to is going to be a further breakdown. So even though we've had this bounce on this trendline structure here, we are still playing in the lower half of this trendline structure. So please pay attention to resistance markers along here. As much as GA is going through the roof, as you can see, we've got some strong resistance coming up here, which could potentially underpin that bullish strength on GA, and which kind of aligns with my sentiment of a potential negative rates on the BOE. Potential, like I said, it is all speculation at this point. Right, so what we clearly established on the weekly is GA is going down, right? We've had the false breakout here. So all we're going to be looking to do is trade this false breakout. Now, one thing to also note why I've highlighted this area here. This is obviously a key area for me to be paying attention for, quite clearly because we have this candle here. If you don't know if you can see it, let me zoom in. We have bearish, bearish, bearish. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 huge bearish weeks on GA. And then we had this sort of spinning top doji forming here, which obviously shows this area is where there is a supply and demand within this structure here. And we can see that. We do have resistance points and markers across here as well, where we've seen here, resistance supply. So we can see that this area is a keen area of supply and demand falling in on the weekly level. So now we break down to the daily chart. Daily chart, looking at the market structure, we can clearly see there is no break of structure here, guys. We have lower highs, lower lows forming all the way throughout. Here we had what potentially could have been the low formed, but it wasn't, because as we came up, we obviously had our Fibonacci levels marked out from the last high to our last low down here. And what we saw was we had our retracement coming back up, found this area. This is our weekly area of supply and demand. We found that area nicely, and we actually formed a reversal candle on the daily here, bouncing off the 50 fib. So breaking down to the 4 hour, this is where our entry was. So we entered right here. I marked out this level of 4-hour support and resistance. As you can see, held the pair. Just move this out here. Move this over a little bit. Held the pair here, support, support, support. So again, our weekly zone just here, important area, this range here. Broke down, broke down, broke down, came up. We retested that 50 fib here. We had the reversal formation form here. And once we broke back down below this level of support, I was quite eager to get in on the trade. You can see how we could time it here. We had the 13th of July here. Now, if we look at the S&P 500, reason why we look at the S&P 500 is obviously we're looking for a correlation on AUD. 13th of July right here, 14th, 13th of July, we had another huge bullish run on the S&P. So as much as GB has been basking at the moment in risk-on environment, being quite a risky asset, I do think that with the BOE next week, there could be some manipulation on the back of this bullish run. But anyway, going back to GB, AUD, obviously we can now see that we have a correlation with the S&P going on a bull run. So what I was looking for was AUD strength, and we got that. We got the breakout, we got the retest, doji. We entered right on the resistance market here because I wasn't playing around. And then obviously we came back down. They tried to stop us out on the pullback, but when you've got entries that are protected, essentially, it's not going to happen. So the pullback came close, and then we had Melt City straight to our target down here, which is actually 379. So absolutely beautiful trade. Obviously, our target lined up with this trendline resistance here. Trendline support here, and it was also the 0.27 the negative 0.27 Fibonacci level of our high to our low. So one of our targets, obviously, we wanted to line up with confluence here. If you were aiming here, you were basically predicting a breakout. We played it safe. We aimed at this fib level, and we took our profits. And we can see we are pulling out. We pulled out. It was annoying because I marked a buy up from here as well, but when I was so deep in the sell, I didn't want to also buy just in case the momentum did continue. But like I said, let's just mark this up for next week, see how we react. We've got these levels here to watch out for. So, and you can see here we found our moving average coming off on that huge bearish run here. So we could find some really strong potential resistance coming into that. And then what we could see is a breakdown lower, potentially. And then if we see a breakdown lower, we could even go down to test down here. But we'd have hurdles along the way. Yeah. Just a viewpoint, just speculation. Obviously the opposite could definitely happen, and we could just go like that. So until we see price action confirm a direction on that, then I hold no bias at the moment, and I'm out of GB for a little bit until we see what happens with the BOE. But that's what I'm predicting. So let's just hold on to those areas, those zones, see what happens around those levels, and see if we break above the moving average, we could have another bull run up to here. If we do break above that zone, we could see price travel to here. Again, a nice 300 pip trade potentially there. Let's see. GB CAD, absolute stomper. We stomped this out, 375 pips in a total of 4 days. Absolutely beautiful trade. I was really happy with that. It just rocketed through. And again, correlation on the back of this. You can see this weekly candle here. If we just go and check out oil, we did have a depreciation in the oil across those 3 days. This huge bearish candle that formed here, obviously that's going to be weakening CAD a little bit on the fact that it's commodity currency correlations. This is an interesting formation for me. We've obviously had an ascending wedge here on oil that could be breaking. You could see some buyer exhaustion on that. But going back to GB CAD, looking at basic structure on the daily, interesting enough, I love this pattern. What we see here is we've got a trend line breakout. Not only do we have a trend line breakout, but you can see we have a clear inverse head and shoulders forming here. Absolutely beautiful. And now if we want to be technical, let's check out the measured objective. Obviously, we've got a neckline resistance forming here, 364 pips. This is technicals to the T. So 364 pip, what we can predict from the top of our head to our neckline is if we measure the breakout from the neckline, look at that. absolutely smashes it. Not only that, but this level also marks up with my Fibonacci level from, where is it? When we had this bullish breakout here. So on the 4 hour now, sorry, I confused myself for a sec. Breakout, we had the inverse head shoulders form out. We had this bullish leg here from this low. Let me just get rid of some of this stuff here. I'm just going to get rid of the head and shoulders marker so I can mark some more stuff. So inverse head and shoulders marker. I love this trade. It's such a nice trade. We had this low form here, and then we had the breakout. So we broke our neckline resistance here, clearly breaking out here. I need to get just like a little, we broke out here, came back on the retest. Obviously from this low to this high, we had the 23.6 Fibonacci level, which came in confluence beautifully with our neckline. I was confident to get up at the top here. That's a big momentum there. And then obviously our extension of this Fibonacci level to up here was actually the full breakout extension as well. So we had confluences of technicals lining up for targets as well. Look at that beautiful neckline breakout measured objective lining up with our swing objective of the Fibonacci level. So GBCAD was an absolute stomper. I was really proud of that. It was an absolutely great trade. Looking at a larger scale here, this is pure speculation, but I can really see GBCAD about to break out massively. Why? Because we have this potential. We've had a huge downtrend forming here, and then we've had this consolidation between this area here, and then we formed a potential reversal on the consolidation in the form of this huge inverse head and shoulders. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. This huge area of resistance is now our acting neckline. If we break out of this active neckline, GBCAD could be setting up for the biggest swing, 1,920 pips. 1,920 pips. And you can see on a pure weekly level, we've had this resistance hit here. So sweep, that juicy, if you wanted to swing trade that, you don't even need to swing trade it, to be honest. Let's wait till we find some bullish momentum up here. CAD's been floppy. This only is obviously not that sort of stop. We'd find an entry on the 4 hour, but that would be a great trade if we could find a breakout to confirm this pattern, find some bullish price action along this level of resistance here. So we want to find it as support, and then I could definitely see it making a run up to these highs here with resistance markers along the way. So if you were swing trading this, you had 236 pips, 700, 800, and then a final objective of 1,642. Extremely potential. It's speculative, like I said, but with the constructive price action that we've been seeing on what, like I said here, huge potential pattern. And then we've had the intraday inverse head and shoulders, and this is a huge buying breakout here. So I would only be looking to buy it above these levels here, essentially, if we found some support above there. Super interesting one to watch though on the days coming. But great trade, 375 pip, 3 days, smashed it. GBCHF, we didn't trade this one. It's been a range. It's been, it's following suit for sure, but that's not the price action which I enjoy. I don't see very much momentum in the back of that. It's not. I think we got stopped on a trade over here when we were buying it, but we did also buy the breakout of this inverse head and shoulders on the first week of the month, and we got a nice return on that. I think it was 180 pips. So we played it well, but again, there was no. For me, there's not a clear trend structure there that I wasn't willing to trade it. Whereas on the flip side, if we look at GJ was trending absolutely beautiful. Looking at the weekly, like I said, we're just paying attention to the structure here. We had this descending trend line coming into play here on the weekly, which is also, keep in mind, look, we still haven't broken the 0.705 Fibonacci of our coronavirus sell-off. So we still could be in potential for a reversal. And like I said, it would line up with BOE deciding to go negative. We still haven't broken. We still are yet to break, we're still yet to break these highs. So it comes down to this resistance and essentially, this Fibonacci level here. Because if this Fibonacci holds, then we're looking at a false breakout. We're going to look at a false breakout, and then we can expect a reversal on GJ. Now, how do we know that the trend is bullish on this? Well, we look at a combination of fundamentals and we look at price action as well. So from a fundamental standpoint, obviously, vaccines have been the talk of the town, and really the S&P has been a bit relentless. There's been nothing to stop equities. We've had a few bearish days, but the bearish days have been completely wiped out the following day, and they've almost acted as fake outs. So we've been trading risk on. We've learned our lesson of trading risk off too much. It's not the market norm. Obviously, here we've had the huge fluctuation and change with the coronavirus, but this is where we see our change of trend, because we've got, we've had this high here, low, higher low, and then we had this huge higher high here. Although it is still in trend, guys, the difference is when we're trading intraday trend, because we've broken out above these highs, that's a huge. So you can see we're correcting a little bit here, and then this solidified it. Once we found this double bottom down here and we created this new higher low, you knew that we were going to have a bull run, to potentially test these highs, or at least come up to these levels, at least come up to retest this daily descending trend line structure here. And it did exactly that, and it's broken out. But for now, until we see a retest, if there is a retest, it could continue to smash out and potentially come up to test these levels up here. But 140.56 could be an interesting level. I think obviously, we need to pay attention to these levels prior to that. But that all is only going to be confirmed on Thursday. I don't think, I think the BOE is going to set the pace this week coming up. So how we traded this yet. So let's break it down into the 4 hour. We had our ascending trend line structure here. We're clearing our 4 hour levels of support and resistance, coming back, retesting. So we got a break of structure here, found some support. You can clearly see with the trend line as well, we are in an uptrend, and that confluences with our sentiment on risk, our sentiment on market structure change on the daily, and we have clear technicals here pointing that there's no sells in play here. Even looking at continuation patterns in the market, we had almost, bit of a wedge forming there, descending wedge. Wedges, when you get a descending wedge, it's a sign of seller exhaustion. And then we broke out. And then when we entered was quite clear here. I marked this level here. What I wanted to see was we had all this play down here on the trend line, but what I was really looking for was a close above the 38 Fibonacci level. Why? Because then that clearly we've cleared this intraday support level here. If we've cleared this intraday resistance level here, you can see how it stretches back to this high here. And if we find support along this high here, which we saw with this huge engulfing candle here, we came back down, we retested. Finding support on that shows that buyers are in control, and we're going to challenge these highs. Once we broke out to these levels here, and we cleared this level of support here, we can see they were acting support for this head and shoulders, acting resistance, quite a strong order block, you could say. Buyers didn't back down. We hit this, we came back, we retraced the 10 line structure, but buyers maintained above trend line, no closes below trend lines, nothing. Broke this level. We took the buy once we cleared the 38 fib, pretty perfect buy. I think we bought it there. We had a little bit of drawdown once it retested the 50 fib again, but then we were in play for the engulfing and then the move up. Our second buy clearly came here. Once I saw this structure coming into play, I knew that we were going to have a big breakout because GB's been strong as hell. So I was GJ was a bit delayed on the back of GU, obviously. High correlation between the two pairs. You have to remember, we're trading GB versus risk-off currencies on that with USD, JPY. Obviously, USD has been the weakest of pretty much all currencies at the moment, especially on the back of safe haven appeal. So JPY and Schiff and Swissy have been stronger than the USD. So JPY was always going to be a little bit lagged. So we had to be a little bit patient with it because our GU trade was just straight rocket city, like no drawdown, 335 pips, no looking back. This one just lingered a little bit, but no trend change, no market structure change, very clear structure here. Once we looked at, we were testing these highs here, I entered another buy because I knew we were going to, with this Fibonacci from this high to this low, we can see that we validated our fib levels. So our target fib levels, should be easily met. Obviously, my target was 138. Initially, I had it marked up at 1322, which was up there, but we moved the targets down to 138 just because of the trend line structure coming into play on the daily. But you can clearly see very clear trend trading there. We're just clearing our higher highs, finding support above them, breaking out, using our Fibonacci's to confirm continuation on the pattern or continuation on the movement, and using our daily and our weekly to basically analyze the fact that the trend has changed and we are now in an uptrend. So you just got to use these confirmations, macro down, and make a decision from there. GU, another crazy trade. You can see we entered on the pullback here, and pretty much zero drawdown, and we just murdered it. This is my Illuminati triangle. Keep in mind, I'm doing a video on that as well, where we cover our AUD, USD, silver, Euro CAD, all trades that went on for 300, 200, and 300 pips. And EJ, which obviously went on to do 140, and I'm confident to finish the 200 pips next week. So it's a huge, very strong terminal consolidation pattern in a bullish form. So one of my favorites. So last trade, we're going to break down GU. Don't trade the monthly. It's not my thing. Weekly, though, obviously you can see, can't see that clearly on the weekly, but we can clearly see here we broke down. Coronavirus, USD strength went through the roof before everyone kind of realized, it's not that great. But we started highlighting our higher lows coming into play here. Same as GJ, market structure. It's more clear on the daily. Oh, whoa. A little bit of a weird one. But we started forming a bit of an uptrend there. You can clearly see by just marking the highs. Obviously, same trend line structure coming down on the daily here. We've had our levels marked up. A video on GU, breaking it down, but we'll do it one more time. We traded GU a couple of times within this area here throughout the month. Always buying, never selling. One sell, and we got stopped out. So we learned our lesson. But we've been trading GU pretty much all month since we formed this new lower high. Higher low. On the formation of that higher low, we're ready. Let's get going. Let's start looking for buys. And that's exactly what we did. This one here, we did have clear going down on the 4 hour. We had, our uptrend formation forming here. We can clearly see structure coming in, up, high, low, higher, high. We broke these highs, come back down. Oh, look, another higher low. All right. Where's that little arrow? Whoa, it's not a little arrow anymore. It's huge. There we go. Trend has been established. So now what we're looking for here, we have a bullish consolidation pattern in the form of the Illuminati triangle. Whenever this forms in a bullish environment, it's got a very high probability, but we will cover that in the other video. And then what we saw here was we had this huge breakout. We came all the way up here. I waited patiently. I wasn't going to enter on that. I needed to pull back. And what we got was this pullback here to retest this level of support, broken resistance from these highs here. We broke out clearly over here. We have done that before, but we were unable to maintain it. However, with the structure coming into play, a second hit, that was always going to be a very strong hit by the bulls. So we broke out, traded the pullback absolutely perfectly to retest our levels of support and broken resistance, including this massive daily trend line structure. So this area here was always going to be a huge confluence of support. And whenever there's a huge confluence of support, buyers want to get in on that, because that's where the pop's going to be. And we got in huge engulfing, and it just flew to our targets. I was predicting a breakout above these highs based on market structure. So my initial target was obviously coming into here, which were these highs back here above these levels here. But that's it, guys. That's GB. We broke it down. We traded on trend. We nailed it. Hopefully you guys learned something from this video. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'm really happy with how everything's going. Please, like I said, comment, drop a like, drop any questions, drop the subscription, and also share. It's really important that we get sharing, guys. That's the only way we get out here. I'm not out here doing loads of different marketing and all that sort of thing. I'm hoping to grow this through word of mouth, guys. So I appreciate all the support, everyone, and enjoy your weekend, and look forward to the next video on Illuminati triangles.